All right, thank you so much. It's decision day for the Monetary Policy Committee after the two-day meeting. I will take you straight to Abuja, where the CBN governor is already standing by to reel out the resolutions after the two-day meeting. Let's take a listen and we get to analysis afterwards.
Which suggests that the ongoing disinflation trajectory would continue, largely supported by the lagged transmission of previous monetary tightening, sustained exchange rate stability, and enhanced food supply. Considerations. In reaching this policy decision, the committee took into account the sustained deceleration in year-on-year headline inflation in January 2026, marking the 11th consecutive month of decline. This downward trajectory in inflation was driven mainly by the continued effects of the contractionary monetary policy, stability in the foreign exchange market, robust capital inflows, and improvement in the balance of payments. The momentum was further reinforced by relative stability in the prices of petroleum products and improved food supply conditions, especially staples. These outcomes have indicated that prior tightening has continued to anchor expectations. The MPC particularly noted the remarkable performance of Nigeria's external sector, evidenced by the robust accretion to foreign exchange reserves, supported by higher export earnings and increased remittance inflows. This has contributed to greater stability in the foreign exchange market and bolstered investor confidence. Members also welcomed the newly issued Presidential Executive Order 09, which redirects oil and gas revenues into the Federation account. The committee acknowledged the potential impact of this order in improving fiscal revenue and accretion to reserves. Given these improved macroeconomic conditions, the committee believed that a moderate easing was consistent with the prevailing inflation dynamics. Members acknowledged the continued resilience of the banking sector, with most of the key financial soundness indicators remaining within regulatory thresholds. With regards to the ongoing recapitalization program, the committee noted that of the 33 banks that have raised additional capital, 20 have met the new minimum capital requirement, reaffirming steady progress towards a more robust and well-capitalized financial system. The MPC reiterated the strategic importance of the recapitalization exercise and urged the bank to ensure its successful completion. This would reinforce financial system resilience and enhance the sector's capacity to support sustainable economic growth. Price and other domestic developments. Headline inflation year on year eased to 15.10% in January 2026 from 15.15% in December 2025, reflecting a moderation across both the food and core components. Food inflation declined markedly to 8.89% from 10.84% over the same period, supported by improved domestic food supply, sustained exchange rate stability, and favorable base effect. Similarly, core inflation declined to 17.72% from 18.63%, driven largely by moderation in the average prices of information and communication services. Month-on-month, headline inflation declined to minus 2.88% in January 2026 from 0.54% in the preceding month, indicating a continued softening of price pressures. In terms of output, the Purchasing Managers Index, PMI, stood at 55.7 points in January 2026, reflecting continued expansion in economic activities and likely improvement in output in the fourth quarter of 2025. Gross external reserves rose significantly to $50.45 billion as of February 16, 2026, the highest in 13 years. This provides an import cover of 9.68 months for goods and services. Global developments. Global economic activities are projected to strengthen in 2026, underpinned by progress in trade negotiations, increased investment in artificial intelligence-related technology, and gradual monetary policy easing. Notwithstanding this projection, significant headwinds remain, including rising protectionism, deepening geo-economic fragmentations, and the likely escalation of trade disputes. Global disinflation is anticipated to continue in 2026, driven by the lagged impact of previous monetary policy tightening, further resolution of supply chain disruptions, and improved stability in commodity markets. Near-term inflation is, however, likely to remain above historical averages, constrained by structural rigidities and divergent pace of disinflation across several economies. Outlook. The outlook indicates that the current momentum of domestic disinflation will continue in the near term. This is premised on the lagged impact of previous monetary policy tightening, sustained stability in the foreign exchange market, and improved food supply. However, increased fiscal releases, including election-related spending, could pose upside risks to the outlook. The MPC reaffirmed its commitment to an evidence-based policy framework firmly anchored on the bank's core mandate of ensuring price stability while safeguarding the soundness and resilience of the financial system. The next meeting of the committee is scheduled for Tuesday 19th and Wednesday 20th May 2026. Thank you.
Thank you. That was communique number 161 and the first one for the year 2026, presented by the chairman of the MPC and the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Olayemi Kaduki. Now take questions from members of the press. Please be selected just your name, your medium, and one question. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Governor. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Musa Bakar with NT. My question is, Nigeria net foreign reserves reportedly reach $49 billion as of February 1st, 2026. Now, what are the key drivers behind this build-up, and how sustainable is it over the medium term? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just a point of correction there. These aren't net reserves you're quoting, it's the gross reserves. And the gross reserves as at middle of February is about 50.4 billion, which, as I had said in the communique, is the highest figure that we've had in 13 years. Now, we will, in the fullness of time, be saying something in the next few days or so. We'll be breaking down the net reserves figure to give you a better feel for how that has moved over the past few years. So the gross reserves is actually 50.4 billion, and it is the largest that we've had in the past 13 years. Now, your question basically is, what are the key drivers on this, and to what extent is this sustainable? And the answer is, of course, we've seen very positive signals with respect to the way the macros are developing. There have been favorable trade developments. The current account is in healthy surplus, and of course the non-oil exports have also gone up respectively. It's something I talk about all the time, which is the issue of the diaspora remittances, which again is going up very respectively indeed. Of course, with all this and underpinning all this, quite frankly, is market confidence. Without market confidence, no matter what you do, you will find you will significantly sub-optimize. We, over the period of time, have embarked on a great number of international forums where we've gone out, told our story, we've made promises, ensured that we stuck to those promises, and were as open and transparent as we could in order to engender positive market sentiment and have economic actors believe in the framework in which we were setting out for the future of our foreign exchange system. So that all, I believe, has paid up quite respectively. Your second question, of course, how sustainable is this? And it's a very good question. How sustainable is this? Now, of course, there will always be risks to any outlook. There will always be risks to any outlook. We cannot underestimate the potential global shocks that could come our way. Nobody has a crystal ball. We can only project into the future, but who knows what tensions there could be globally that will come in and affect us in a way that we never anticipated. Oil prices, how those oil prices play out, we can only project. Importantly, of course, as pre-election spending, and that also, if not properly contained, can destabilize, the stability we've accomplished. And of course, fiscal deficits, we're in a new year, and I know that is something that is being looked at very, very, very carefully. And from us.
All right, then we will still be connecting live for another broadcast in Abuja as the Renewed Hope Ambassador Summit 2026, where state governors and, of course, members of the All Progressive Congress are gathered at the State House as we speak. So we're bringing you live pictures from there. You can continue watching Business Nigeria on all other platforms. And if you scan the QR code on the screen, you would be able to watch us live and also on other platforms. Business Nigeria continues immediately.
Good afternoon, Mr. Governor. My name is James Major with this day. In January, the inflation is to 15.15%. And inflation had been one of the greatest challenges for the central bank. Even when you came, you said of what use is growth if inflation is so high. Today, you have the CBN has reduced MPR. Can we now go to sleep on inflation? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. And thank you for reminding me of what I said 2 years ago. And that hasn't changed, to be frank. It hasn't changed. And having said that, caution is our watchword in the central bank. Caution is our watchword in the central bank. We are by nature a conservative group of people. And we have to be that way because we have to do everything possible to protect our economy. And where we see fragilities, we've got to ensure that we're doing the right things to protect our economy and to strengthen our base. Having said all that, we're encouraged, of course, by the fact that, again, going back to what you said, inflation at that time, 34%, we brought it down to where it is, slightly over 15 headline. We're encouraged by that. And we believe that a lot of the measures we have taken, though difficult, though tough in many respects, have begun to pay off. And part of that, obviously, is the monetary tightening. We've had no option but to ensure that we've kept a very, very tight monetary policy. We believe that if we sustain stability in the foreign exchange market, which we have seen in the recent past, that it is important to sustain that. We also believe that it is important that the sort of decreases we're seeing in food inflation should continue like that. We understand the structural rigidities, and we understand that the fiscal is doing everything possible to sort of balance things out so that at the end of the day, the collective will ensure that we continue on a downward disinflation pathway. But having said that, by the way, having said that, I must also emphasize that it will take a lot of discipline from all the stakeholders. This is not something that will be central bank alone. All the stakeholders will need to be involved, working collaboratively to ensure that the gains we have achieved are sustained.
Thank you. Mr. Governor, my name is Mark Itibo from Leadership Newspapers. But the last time you were at Transcorp at the G20 meeting, you observed that digital payment systems pose both risk and benefits and opportunities. Could you please expatiate on that by please identify the salient risk and what the CBN is doing to mitigate those risks? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. A very good question. Thank you very much. I think this particular question is, I must emphasize, is very topical. And not just topical in Nigeria, but topical the world over. Okay, because so many things are happening and are changing in that space. Firstly, we recognize that it is important for the system to benefit from innovation. It's important for the system to benefit from innovation. And we're doing, or we will be doing everything possible to encourage that, to encourage a payment system that, frankly, is good for purpose and eventually does bring out in large numbers a lot of people from poverty. It is known to do that if you get it right. However, we also appreciate the fact that there are risks that go with that. There are risks that go with that, especially risks to financial stability. And it is for that reason that we believe the way forward is to ensure that we balance, we have a thoughtful manner of oversighting that particular area and ensuring that we balance out potential risks that go hand in hand with innovation. Within the central bank, we will continue to approach the subject with thoughtful and proportionate measure. We are advancing work already on a very comprehensive framework for digital assets. And that is something that will go through a lot of scrutiny, a lot of thought. We will, we're conferring with various stakeholders, not just domestically, but internationally, to ensure that at the end of the day, what we get is something that is transparent and can give us long-term resilience. It is very, very important that this happens. So much as I know there's a lot of discussion in the internet, out in the open space about digital assets, etc., I can assure you that the approach that the Central Bank of Nigeria is taking to this in ensuring that we are looking purposely and thoughtfully at the future and ensuring that we are managing the risks isn't one that is peculiar to Nigeria. It is one that countries world over are facing. And hopefully we will get it right and will ensure that we come up with something that takes our economy to the position we want it to be. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the MPC. Good afternoon. Mine is somewhat like a follow-up, but in light of the FinTech report on innovation, inclusion, and integrity. How is the Central Bank of Nigeria strengthening oversight of this, as well as how do you intend to improve coordination between fintechs and the DMBs, deposit money banks, as well as how to tackle the digital fraud risk that we're seeing now, because it's rising. So how is the CBN, are you watching that space, and what are you doing to combat it? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that question, Nancy. Yes. Now, let me go back a bit and even give some context as to why we thought it necessary to come up with the FinTech report. There are over 430 licensed FinTech operators. So to all intents and purposes, they are a systematically important segment. And as you know, many of them are in various geographies. They are already in various geographies. And for us, it is important for us to do what is possible to support their efforts and not wish them away. Many of them are doing a lot of innovative things in various parts, particularly in the African continent. Particularly in the African continent. They are unicorns to some respects. And the least we can do is to put in place the guardrails and to ensure that we have the supervisory capacity to manage them as they go along and ensure that those of them that, and they all carry a flag when they go internationally, can do so with pride, and that we have given them what it takes to be very successful wherever they go to. So that's part of that. And then secondly also, and if you read that document, you'll find out that we stuck our necks out. Because some people that read that document came back to me and said, well, this is a nice document, but how are we sure you can execute it? How are you sure that the execution phase is key? And it is true. It's very true. And we did that deliberately because we want to put ourselves on the line to ensure that the timelines were put out. It pushes us and other stakeholders to meet those timelines. So it isn't just a nice document that will gather dust and people will forget about. That's not the intention. It isn't. So I thought it was important that I mention this. We have a dedicated payment system supervision function that is functional and is looking at all the different aspects of some of the things you've mentioned. A lot of these things are work in progress. They are work in progress. And it has been very important for us as we have gotten to the point we have to have engaged with different players in that market, which we have done, and understood where the pain points are, and ensure that going forward we're able to address those pain points and have an ongoing dialogue session that will be able to properly supervise that sector and, as I said, bring them up to a level where we will all be very proud.
All right, thank you so much, Central Bank Governor. We're still answering questions from journalists after the briefing of day 2 after the Monetary Policy Committee meeting. We reviewed key global developments and, of course, domestic developments. But finally, we see that MPC has decided to reduce rates by 50 basis points. Now, that puts MPR at 26.5%. retained CRR for deposit money banks at 45%, merchant banks at 15%. According to the governor, the decision was based on the premise the ongoing disinflation trajectory. We've talked about this, where inflation was as at 2025 and where we are as at today, 15.10%. Many would say a lot of work has been done around that space. Well, prices of petrol, food supplies, and staples, among others, we've seen a decline around food prices. That's been confirmed by agriculturists, farmers, and everyone. Even the fear now, farmers are worried that some of these crops, they could be oversupply one way or the other, and they don't know what that might do to pricing. But also, MPC notes on the performance of Nigeria's export sector. I think that is a good one. Talking about the time where government is trying to look at revenue away from oil. And we've seen improved activities at the MPC. The last figures, I think, for first quarter was quite impressive. Something above $6 billion US. And that was highly commendable. The president's decision to redirect all revenues, that's by the executive order. That has generated reactions from all and sundry. But the president is still standing firm. We've not seen any counter write-up or press release to that directive. So that means that one way or the other, that's still on the ground. Well, with regards to recapitalization of banks also, a lot. 20 out of the 33 banks have met the minimum capital requirements. But let's talk about some of these developments now. But that will be after this break. Then we'll get to a conversation. Don't go away.